Coffee's the fuel, martini's the craft. Conversations swirling in the cool night.
Good morning, Alan.
Good evening, Leanne. I hope you like my garnish for my martini.
Wow. I dare you to drop it in there on this live stream.
So it's called a warty pumpkin, which is part of the squash family, which in turn is part of the gourd family. That's my education for today.
It's such a freaky pumpkin.
Done
It was
on
made for
purpose.
Halloween.
They're grown that way.
So why are they growing that way? By the way, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you. They're grown that way just for a novelty. Apparently, it's easy to do. These nodules here are simply part of the skin of the gourd that it expands through sort of a novel kind of cell growth. And you can cut these up and so forth. And of course, pumpkins are edible. They make pumpkin soup, and you have pumpkin bisque, and you have pumpkin coffee, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, like Halloween growing up in Australia, Halloween was never a big deal when I was a kid. And people actually said, "Oh, it's an American thing," but now it's just embraced. Like it's a huge thing in Australia.
What
So
a lot of people don't realize is it's a Catholic holiday. It's a church holiday, a Christian holiday. It's really All Souls Day, which in I think Greek or Latin is close to Halloween, Hallows Eve, and it precedes All Saints Day. So the idea is, okay, All Saints Day. Well, let's acknowledge everyone, so you have All Souls Day, and that's how this originated, 500 years ago.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. I knew you'd be able to share a bit more about the background on that. We've got Dee Dee that's joining us. She's been waiting all day for Talk the Walk. Great to have you here. If you are joining us, let us know where you're joining us from, how you're celebrating Halloween. Today's topic is, Alan, you created this one. I thought it was quite funny, just based on the theme, consulting trick or treat. What inspired you to nominate that as a topic for today?
Well, I actually came up with 6 things that I think are tricks or treats that consultants play with clients. And
Ah,
they can result in a treat, or they can result in a nasty trick. For example, uh, are you making crazy claims about what you can do and how you can do it, or are you really focused on the delivery of what you can create for a client? You know,
mm,
First is a trick, second is a treat. Are you responding to what a client wants as a commodity, which is a trick? I can do it better than you can. I can name
that is
that
a
song.
trick.
No,
That is a trick.
that's right. But the treat is, are you initiating things, finding new value that the client would enjoy? And so I think we have these choices, as we meet with clients. Are you looking
Oh,
to?
can I pause you there? Because I want to I think with each one of these, we can explore. I mean, even the first one, the crazy claims. We see this all the time. And even in, I guess your world, Alan, you would see some people saying, "Hey, I can promise you an extra 6 figures a month, and turn you into a $1 trillion consultant by the end of the year." You see these massive promises. The
They're,
internet is rife with that.
they're all over social media. I can get you
Yeah.
400 a week. Well, you could probably get 400 contacts a week, none of whom can buy anything. Most of whom are out of work, right? So there's all this crap. You have to separate out what's real and not real. So do you want
Mm.
to be, or do you want to be tricked? I mean, that's really the issue.
Yeah, well, I think it really plays into that narrative. People they're selling hope, right? They're selling hope, and so you want to believe it that you can do it. So the second thing around responding and being a commodity, I think this is the biggest lesson I learned from you, because especially when you're starting out, you'll just take anything. Anyone that's like, "Hey, can you do this 2-hour workshop?" You're like, "Yes, I can do that," and you don't even question it. So talk more about that trick that a lot of newbie consultants, or even I guess experienced consultants, can fall into.
Well, there's a difference between trying to survive. When I got fired, now this is 1985-ish, I was doing resume reviews for people for $25. I had to put bread on the table.
Yeah.
Uh, I was good at doing it, and I really helped them. Uh, but what happens is a lot of people will take on projects that they have no expertise in, and the client is hurt by that. The thing was, yeah, I could either do it now, or I could learn how to do it, or I could offer something alternative to what the client was asking that would have either the same or a better result. So I was always honest with the client, but I was very opportunistic about, putting bread on the table. And
Yes.
all that switches once you build a strong brand. Once you have the brand and people come to you, then that's different.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. Like, you think you can learn how to do it? Because I think a lot of people that accept that trick, think, okay, I haven't done this before. I think I can do it. They have that self-efficacy. I think I might learn on the go. Then they get into it and realize, how do you anticipate whether you will be able to learn it or not? I mean, you can't predict the future, can you?
Well, I have unbounded confidence. I mean, look, I don't believe I don't believe in fake it to make it or whatever that phrase is.
Yeah.
But I do believe that, Merck asked me once if I was doing a lot of business. I said, look, you have to be licensed in criterion reference instruction, very big at the time, CRI. Are you licensed in it? And I said, no. They said, we'd love to use you. I said, I'll get licensed in it. They said, you will. You can do this in 2 weeks. I said, don't worry about it. So I called Bob Mager, who was the guru of this, and he said, how much time do you have? It's a 17-day process. I said, I have a weekend. So I went out to the desert where he lives in Arizona, and he taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
So you have energy, and
Mm.
I can recall maybe the two or three greatest errors I've ever made with clients, and they were all three were about assignments I took that I did not do well.
What was it about those assignments? Was it just like, what was it about those that I
Well,
can't
I was
imagine you not doing well?
Yeah, well, I can't either, but it happened. Fortunately, but I had this a big assignment with a drug company where they fired all the executives because it was a sexual scandal and everything else. And a lawyer was now running the company, which is never good. But the board put her in, right? It was foreign owned. Long story short is they wanted a survey done. I said, oh, I can include that in the project. It'll cost you a little bit more. I said, a survey, how hard can that be? And I created a survey that was a mess. It was too long,
Oh,
accepted too many people who wanted to have their own questions in, people doing other things. And it was long, it was unwieldy, it was before the computer, it was hard to calculate, and I got myself fired. So,
oh,
uh, and they brought in a firm that specialized in surveys.
yeah,
But I learned a lesson, I learned a good lesson.
yeah.
And But that only happened two or three times when my exuberance overcame my common sense.
That happens a lot to me, I think. I have a lot of exuberance, and it definitely overrides the common sense. How did you pick yourself up from that? Because I'm sure, getting fired from a client early days, how did you then move forward?
My wife said, she said, "Sit." I was pretty low, because I had let down the client. We needed the money. My
Yeah.
wife said, "Look," said, "do you know what went wrong?" I said, "I do." And she said, "Well, okay. So you learned a lesson. There's a lot of other companies out there. You have some other clients. So, you want to mourn for a day, fine, but then, get on with this."
Yeah,
Uh,
nice.
and so I did. So it's important to have somebody you trust, somebody who believes in you, and somebody you can talk to give you some outside perspective. And when I
Mm.
advise, as you know, uh, I always have them looking up, not down. Okay, this happened. What do we learn? Don't do that again. What do we learn from this? So I think I didn't deliberately try to trick the client, but I
No.
wound up tricking myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's tough. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. And particularly, I mean, when you got a network and you can sort of reach out to people and get their advice. But yeah, we've all been there. So thank you for sharing that early lesson. I think you got a few more of these. What are the tricks that consultants fall for, and what are the treats that we can?
Well, I have four more. One is, are you going to grow something, or are you just going to carve? And a lot of people just
Oh,
carve the hell out of it. They make a mess. They ladle out the seeds and the insides, put a candle in it. Pumpkin doesn't look so good. But a lot of kids are taught to grow pumpkins. I grew small pumpkins like this once in our garden back here, and our kids watch these pumpkins grow. So I think when you're working with an organization or you're coaching someone, it's more important to grow than to carve. It's more important to help someone do what they do best and not rip them to shreds and say, "Let me here, you got to do it the way I do it." You know.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Tell us more about carve, because I'm just reminded of that. There's that famous Michelangelo quote where he's like, he sees that piece of like the statue of David, and he's like, "I saw the statue." He just carved away at that. Um,
yeah.
that's a positive way of looking at carving. But yeah, what would you say to that?
Well, I think too often we try to change people who we believe don't fit a certain pattern. So, you walk into a lot of organizations and consultants will immediately say, well, it's the buyer's fault. Now, the buyer's smart enough to invited you in, but apparently the buyer's not smart enough to solve the problem, right? So
Mm,
buyers, and so they try to change the buyer. They try to change people's behaviors. If you don't change people's beliefs, their behaviors won't change. So carving away will just create blood. It'll just create hurt and pain.
mm,
Maya Angelou said, you train animals, you educate people. If you educate people and they change their belief system, yeah, I should be delegating to people. It will be less work for me. I should give them power. That's how you'll change
mm.
behavior. And
Yeah,
so,
I
it's a slasher,
yeah, yeah, I wrote about that in today's newsletter, just about damaged goods and how, um, I've been working with some people and they're like, "Yeah, these people aren't ready. They're not at that stage yet where we can help them." And I think I just really thought, well, it's your opinion on that. I mean, maybe they are ready to grow, but you're just boring the heck out of them because you're taking this like super slowly and treating them like they are damaged.
Well,
Um,
you don't know if they're ready until you try.
That's it. That's it. We've got a LinkedIn user, not too sure, but thanks so much for sharing in chat. And if you're here live, let us know where you're joining us from, how you're celebrating Halloween, and any questions that you have. They share, always love listening to Alan. Great conversation. So thank you for being here. Okay, Alan, what else have you got for us?
Uh, are you offering people value or just candy? Uh, when I went around trick or treating as a kid, you'd get candy, and a nickel here and a dime there. Uh, but it wasn't like today, where when you go home, you have to check the candy to make sure there are no razor blades in it, or it hasn't been poisoned or something, uh, or you collect for a good cause in a closed box. It's nice to have candy, but it rots your teeth after a while. And so I think that we've got to be providing people with value and not just superficial difference. You disappeared from the screen. Are you still alien, or am I going to vamp the rest of the show? Uh-oh. All right. I'm going to keep talking. Yeah, the clock is moving here. I'm going to go through my others for those of you who are kind enough to stay with us. I'm sure Leanne will reappear. She's been taken by the ghost of Halloween. Uh, Another thing here is, do you have a presence or are you a ghost? Can people see right through you? And so, do you have a presence of value and repute and brand and sincere help, or are you just sort of somebody whispering around, and people can't see any substance there? They stick their hand through. Who are you going to call? You're going to call Ghostbusters. And the final thing I have here in terms of trick or treat for consultants is: are you wearing a mask, or is it the real you? And too many people are putting on masks these days. They're using AI. It's not their language. You can smell it's AI from 100 yards away. They're writing a newsletter that's not theirs. They're putting posts up on social media that's not them. And they're asking constantly for help. I open Word and it says, "You want Word Companion? Can Word help you?" No, you can't. Leave me alone. And so I think that the whole point about providing value instead of tricks is extraordinarily important. And it's up to us in terms of how we present ourselves. And some people, it's supposedly some of the tricks people played was they dump things. They would trash somebody's property, or they'd spray shaving cream on the walls and so on. We don't want to have that kind of retribution. We want to be accepted. So it's okay, to look at trick or treat in terms of we're providing treats. We're not providing tricks. We're providing something honest and real. So we've got at least another 10 or 12 minutes. So I'm going to keep talking. I don't know if this is even being recorded or what's happening here. But so in worst case, it'll be a lot of good advice lost. So I would say to you this, the more honest you are, the less you have to remember. The thing about honesty compared to lies is that when you lie a lot, it's hard to remember all the lies and you become inconsistent and people sort of sniff you out. So I think that uh, you need to be as honest as you can, warts and all. You have to admit to shortcomings. You have to admit to things that you choose not to do or can't do. And one of the things I wanted to tell Leanne before, and one of the ways I avoided future problems of that magnitude I discussed, is that I realized there were certain things I didn't want to do at all, even if I could get money for them. I didn't want to deal with technology. I didn't want to deal with finance because they bored me. I could have learned technology, I could have learned finance, but I wasn't interested. And there's too many other things I can do and that organizations need. And I'll tell you something else about being honest and being forthright and so on. Leanne, you're back. You disappeared. I've been vamping. I don't know if it's recorded or not.
Okay. It says it says it seems you're currently streaming to record. If you can let us know in chat, I'll just see if we're going live still. But Alan, you kept going. That's amazing.
Oh, I can vamp. I can talk on anything for 30, 40 minutes. Doesn't matter. Give me a topic. I can talk on it. Doesn't matter.
Uh, that's
I'm,
incredible.
I'm just, Can I just finish what I was saying here in
Yes.
case he's really there and listening? Uh, I was talking about, technology and being honest about it, not using AI, uh, except for your own edification. But I'll tell you this, the big mistake now in AI is that too many people use it as a reference tool. They use it like an encyclopedia. And so in the old days, I would reach back here, get the Encyclopedia Britannica, I'd open it up because I needed the date of the French Revolution, or I needed to know how many grams were in a metric ton or something. And I had to hope that it was up to date, right? So every 2 years you get another one. But using Google like that, using AI like that, chat and so forth, it's wasteful. AI is really useful to help you create patterns, to help you create plans. What's the best way to put this information in a proposal that looks like one from Alan Weiss? Now, you don't have to be on my site to do that. My AI, you can ask any AI that, because I have so big a body of work that you can find my stuff anywhere. So maybe I shouldn't have invested with it on my site. But in any case, you should use it to create. Some people even use it. Some of my clients use AI to create their own apps. And so there's an app for creating a proposal. There's an app for doing a book, and so forth and so on. So we should use AI not as a reference source and not as something teaching us to fish. We should use AI as a tutor and something that has taught us how to fish, not caught a fish for us, I should say, but has taught us how to fish. Okay, I'm done.
Well, you know what I love about this? I can basically just hit recording and just go see you later, go have a coffee, walk my dog, come back in 30 minutes and click stop.
You probably could. You probably could.
Amazing. Yeah, but look,
But
we're still live streaming. Pamela is here from Baltimore. Dee Dee says all good, Alan. I don't know what you were talking about. We've got a comment here. Love this comment regarding AI. I hate the constant prompts from AI in every tool, whether I want help. I react the same way. No, if I want help, I'll let you know. We can hear you. Oh, okay, great.
yeah, great.
Amazing. So yeah, okay. So I'm sure that was one of your points, your trick or treat points was around AI. Have you got any more for us, Alan, or did you just riff on those
Well, I
while I
did riff.
did?
The one I really wanted to, I'll repeat here, was my last one, and that is, are you wearing a mask or a costume, or are you being really you? And
Oh,
that's why I got to AI, because a lot of people use AI and it's not their voice anymore. And I was saying,
mm,
I can smell AI 100 yards away. I can smell
yeah,
it and see it, feel it and hear it. And so, uh, high tech, high touch, you have to be you. And if you think of my accelerant curve and the vault at the end, the key thing in the vault is you. So AI is a good shortcut for helping you create dynamics and helping you learn things, but it's not a good replacement for you. Otherwise, you just have high tech, high tech.
yeah, yeah. Very good point. And you're right. Honestly, recently, I don't know if anyone else, I know we're talking on LinkedIn right now, but I've just in the last 6 months, the amount of AI slop and rubbish I've seen on LinkedIn just really turned me off. I used to be very active on LinkedIn, but now I'm looking for other places like Substack where there's a bit more depth and I don't know, just real people actually writing. Um, yeah, I mean, I know you haven't been a fan of LinkedIn ever, but um,
No,
I don't
no.
know if
I
you've
mean,
noticed the difference.
there are a few people who make good use of it, and there are a few really good people on it who I like to read their stuff. But by and large, it's surrounded by so much noise, it's deafening. Um,
Yes.
one of my clients is Lisa Miller, who you might have met, and she and I are partnering on an initiative called the Whale Sale. And so, how do you create six-figure sales and seven-figure clients over time, and so forth?
Nice.
Found what would you call Substack? Is that what it's
Yes.
called?
Yeah.
She's found that to be very useful. So now we have a Whale Sale Substack site, and I do videos and I write articles for it. So I think if
Ah,
you're focused like that, yeah, because you get subscribers on Substack, if I'm not mistaken, uh,
correct. Yeah.
and they don't have to be surrounded by all the noise. They can pick and choose.
Yes. Yeah. And so just on that note, if you want to sign up for Alan's newsletter, we got his Monday morning memo. Just scan the QR code right there with that lovely martini. It's so funny. The other day, my friend Sally, she said to me, Leanne, how much are you paying Alan to be on your live stream? Oh, yes. And I was like, I'm not paying him a thing. I'm pretty sure Alan suggested it. So there we go.
I love doing this. I mean, this is
So do
fabulous.
I. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. I know. I really did laugh. Like, oh, that's so fascinating that that's the perception out there. And
Well, we
speaking of
can
subs,
we can solicit contributions from the audience if they want to
that's
send some.
right. Absolutely. I've got a question for you. What is the scariest? Scary. And keeping it on topic. What is the scariest trend haunting consultants today? Is it AI or something else?
No, it's self-esteem. It's low
Still,
self-esteem
okay.
or ego, and it's manifest in a lot of different ways. Sometimes you see people who are bullies, you see people who are excessively working hard and so forth. That's not caused by a work ethic. It's not caused by force or might. They're weak people. They have low self-esteem, and in a
Mm,
world where everything is contributing to low self-esteem. We feel we don't have control. We feel there's too much normative pressure. We feel that the internet's uncontrollable and AI, boom, boom, boom.
Mm.
Uh, People really are masking their own talent. Talk about masks. They are
Mm.
masking their own talent because they're fearful and they are afraid of somebody critiquing them. They're afraid of a project that's finished. People say you wasted your time, and so forth and so on. So in the last 2 weeks, I have a program where I write a book with someone. In other words, they pay me, and I put first-time authors,
Yeah.
and we put a proposal together, and I guide them through the process. In the last 2 weeks, I got contracts for 2 different people, and we overcame their feelings about not being worthwhile as writers.
Yeah.
Uh, we overcame because I'm with my experience base. I can say to them, look, this is always an issue. Don't worry about that. You
Yeah.
know, need an example here. Oh, how do I get examples? Tell me about your day yesterday. Well, I did this, I did that. Whoa, use that, right? So it's
Mm.
not helpful, as you know, as a coach or advisor, to say, "Hey, do things the way I do them." But it's very helpful to say, "Hey, here's something you can do within your talents that will work much better." And that helps to resolve this ego and esteem problem. And what kills me, Leanne, is that people say, "I can
Mm.
never write a book. How on earth?" And I say, every good author had a first book.
Yes. It's just getting through that first one and even just believing that you can do it. Because it took me ages to get that first book out as well, and I was going through similar things. There's, but even I guess even as a micro point, even creating a framework was a big deal for me because I thought you needed a PhD in research to create a framework. You know, well, it's just this perception that you have, and then I think we're in Vegas, and you're like, okay, think about your area of expertise, and in 2 minutes, create a 2 by 2, and I just did it. I was like, oh, it actually gets to be that easy.
It is. And if you look, there are scientific writers, right? There's Dan Pink and Malcolm Gladwell
Hmm.
and people like that who have immense research. They put a book out every 2 or 3 years, and they're good writers. But then
Yeah.
there are anecdotal writers. There's Seth Godin and Marshall Goldsmith and me, and we use social proof in our books, which is much easier. And so for me, it's just being lazy. But I find it much easier to write that way, and it's just as compelling and just as convincing as having 6 pages of statistics.
Yeah.
So, my advice to anyone is if you want to write a book and it's your first one, don't try for some kind of scientific perfection. Yeah, just look around and say, well, we all have seen this, and this is an example of my point.
Yeah, that's right. And I think even just writing weekly newsletters is also sort of good training as well because it forces you to observe the world and find that social proof. So that's interesting because I talked about trends, but self-esteem seems to be just an evergreen one that's not going away. It continues to haunt people. And you
Getting
just said it sounds like it's getting worse because of social media.
Yeah, it's getting much worse. I mean, you look at these
Mm.
people who only commit suicide because they're pressured over social media to do so. I mean, that
Oh
it
yeah.
would be a bad book, a bad science fiction story, except it's true.
Yeah, it's awful. I feel like I'm really like taking a sharp left turn here from that statement to talk about treats. What is your favorite treat as a consultant?
In me or in other people.
Oh, well, take it both ways. I'd love to get your personal response. Like what gives you joy doing having been a consultant?
Well, I mean, there's two things with me. One is developing intellectual firepower. I mean, my wife says I can talk to
Mm.
anyone, like when you just disappeared. I mean, I'm glad you're back, but it didn't bother me. And so having the intellectual firepower, which continually gets sharpened and developed by dealing with a vast variety of people, is wonderful. And the second thing is, as you know, I mean, I love to laugh. I have a great sense of humor. I like people with a great sense of humor. And if you have a great sense of humor and you like to laugh and you're not embarrassed by it, uh, you lose stress, you create
Mm.
more endorphin, you're much more effective as a performer. People will appreciate you more. So it's
Mm.
the ability to do things and find irony in life and get through.
Yeah. Have you ever thought like there's a lady in Brisbane, she does like a 6-week stand-up comedy course, and I'm thinking of just next year just doing it just because it will be so far out of my comfort zone. Have you ever thought of getting into stand-up comedy, or you just bring humor into everything that you do?
Actually, I do stand up comedy. I mean, what I do, if you ever see me speak, it is stand up comedy.
That's
And
true.
people have told me you should go on stage and forget the learning stuff, just do the comedy stuff.
Mm.
But I tell stories, I make people laugh, because it's far easier to work that way.
Mm.
Now, I will tell you though, about like you're going to take this course. Uh, if you study something like improv, right? What you learn in improv is not just being better at improv, which makes you better in situations, right? That you're not
Mm.
expecting. But in improv, the key to improv is you never reject, you always accept. So if you and I are in a cab and you give me the line, it's raining in the cab, I don't say to you, no, it isn't. It can't rain in a cab. I say to you, you know something? Good thing I brought my umbrella. I pull out an umbrella. That's what improv teaches you to do. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm so good on my feet because I don't reject things. I'm not threatened by them.
Yes, yes, and I think, yeah, early on when I was working with groups, if you receive something back that's unexpected, it is very easy to reject it because you're like, "What else do I do with this?" But it's always about, like, how do I either, yeah, segue into the next point or take that somewhere else, but don't obviously reject that person because that signals to everyone else that it may not be a safe place to speak up.
Yeah, that's right. And if somebody's adamant about something, I say, you feel really strongly about this. I say, yeah. I say, well, fine. Give me an example of your point. Just like that, conversationally. And sometimes
Perfect.
they just stare because they have no example because they don't really have any substance. Give me an example. Well, I
Yeah, yeah.
can't write. Get back to me when you can.
It's a really great line. So in your areas, like, do people still like trick or treating? Is that a big thing? Will it be a big thing tomorrow?
Yes, they'll be trick or treating now, as
Yep.
opposed to the days when I did it in the inner city. I bought a 5 cent mask and I had a bag, and you'd hope to get a quarter, but you usually got nickels, and you get chocolate and apples and fruit and all this kind of stuff. So a quarter was a big deal. Today, kids walk around with parents, and the parents have a flashlight or a lantern. They inspect what the kids are given. I mean, unfortunately, it's a much different world. But a good thing is that in suburbia here, as opposed to the inner city, people do up their houses. I mean, you have these gigantic displays on the lawn, and some of them are quite spooky. So that adds to it adds. It's sort of become more of a family thing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, hey, thanks so much for jumping in on the Halloween call, and I'm sorry I ghosted you for a few minutes.
that's that's a good one.
Yeah, it was totally totally unintentional. We'll see what's coming through on the chat here. Uh, DD auction school taught me to keep asking and asking and asking after the no. Yeah, it's funny. Alan, you know that I talk really fast, and I was
Yes.
thinking, what career can I take on where I get paid to talk quickly? And it's like auctioneering
Yeah.
would be would be
Yeah.
perfect. So
Also
um,
making announcements in airports because you can never understand them.
that's right. Yeah, there we go. I've got a couple things that are AI proof at the moment. But so what's going to happen now is because we're on this live, I have no control over clicking off. So we're going to say thank you to everyone that's joined us today. So thank you for being here. Cheers to you, Alan.
Cheers to you,
Happy
Leanne, and you have
Halloween.
happy Halloween to you.
Pumpkin. And Alan, yeah, well, I will to close off this recording. I think we both just have to shut down our windows and that will then deactivate it in the back end. If not, then I'll sort that out. But yeah, thanks for being here, Alan. Thank you. And we'll email no doubt about the next Talk the Walk we have coming up.
Yeah, and speak talking the walk. Walk carefully in Nepal. Okay.
I will. I'll do my best. See ya. See you later.